Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today I want to take a look at a company that I've never owned any of their figures until I recently purchased some of the skeletons that they have out, and I was really quite impressed with the skeletons, and I had stumbled upon actually these figures here, Dr. Steve Hunter's, on eBay a while back, and I had always been kind of intrigued by them, but some of the figures look really bad in my opinion, and some of them look like they have some good potential. There's so many different species. They actually have just a very large array of species that is impressive to me. There's crazy off-the-wall species that I wouldn't expect a company like them to be making, and honestly they have species like Jabaria, Amargasaurus, Carnotaurus, of course, which isn't really that obscure, but I mean, even like this guy here, a Caudipteryx, which is crazy to see them like making something like this. I just wouldn't expect a company like this to be making dinosaurs that are such obscure species, and it's a company that you don't really hear too much about, and as you can see, the name is Geoworld right there. And they have been around for quite a while. They have been making dinosaur figures for quite a while, but it's something that you just don't really hear too many people talk about. I don't really ever hear anyone saying, oh, do you want to check out my Geoworld collection? But there's so many crazy, obscure, cool dinosaur species that they've included in their collection and their figures that I've really been kind of interested in them for a little while now and really drawn in, and I've really wanted to check them out. So I recently went ahead and searched eBay, found a little lot here of these three, used unfortunately, so they do have a few paint chips, but I wanted to buy a few for pretty cheap as I didn't really know how good they would be and whether or not I would want to pursue others in the future. And then I ended up picking up this guy also on eBay, still sealed in the package for about $6, which is really cheap considering the prices of some of these guys when I look for them online. So I did scoop up all of these, and I figured we're going to take a look at them all here at once because I don't really know just how good they are, and if there's something that I should pursue in the future. I'm still undecided, and in fact I want you guys to reply in the comments and let me know whether you would like to see more dinosaurs from this company, and then maybe I'll end up pulling the trigger and buying a few more in the future, or whether you think we should just skip out completely on Geoworld. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at them. We've got a Triceratops here, we've got a Baryonyx, a Caudipteryx, which I said earlier, and then the Dilophosaurus back here, who is still sealed. So we're going to take a close look at them each really quickly here, and we'll be able to decide from there just how good they actually are. Now, I don't know if all of these are Dr. Steve Hunter's figures, or if they're just specifically Geoworld, because I think there were just regular Geoworld figures prior to the Steve Hunter's line. However, if we take a look at the head sculpt of this Triceratops, it's not anything overly beautiful as far as the sculpt goes, and in fact, there isn't really too much going on as far as sculpt. It's pretty generic, actually. As far as the overall sculpting goes, you can see there's quite a few paint chips on this side. This is probably closer to what I would expect for a run-of-the-mill, like, dollar store Triceratops. As you can see, all the scales are all pretty much that same style. They don't really change depending on the location of the scales or anything, so the overall detailing isn't like off the charts amazing, but it still has kind of an appealing look to it. You can see that there's some fairly nice detail in the beak, and also some nice detailing in the horns, even though there's a little bit of green splotched on there somehow, probably from whoever owned these previously. The eyes are a yellow color, a black pupil, and they look pretty nice, and the overall coloration is pretty striking as well. I definitely think that it's a fairly appealing look as far as the red, the white, and the black and everything, and the yellow goes. It does look pretty nice and fairly natural. As we move back into the neck, you can again see that the overall scaling is all just that same style. There's not really any difference. They don't alter the sculpt work up depending on the location, and it's really not that great. There's some nice skin folds and stuff going on here. You can see a little bit of the musculature in the leg. The feet are okay. They look a little cheesy, kind of childish actually. And there is paint on the nails that looks pretty nice, and it actually has a nice gloss to it. Paint here on this rear leg is pretty sloppy as far as the nails go though. And then you can see a little variation of kind of like a hint of brown creeping in up here on the top, with some red stripes of course all over the white body, and it kind of turns into some spots and stuff everywhere. You've got some skin folding going on in the stomach region, some fairly decent musculature here in the back leg, and then the tail comes out. It has that same style as far as the scales and everything. and it has a little bit of a curve as it extends out. And overall, the sculpting seems to be very similar on this side. You can really kind of take note actually of the movement a little bit, the skin stretching there and pulling here, so that is pretty nice to see. There is some nice attention to detail that has been paid here. Overall, it doesn't look bad. It's just, I think what they need to improve on with this one is maybe the scaling could be a little bit better, a little more defined and a little more realistic. Maybe not just looking the exact same way everywhere. It's kind of an ugly Triceratops, but kind of sort of appealing at the same time. So it's not that bad, it really isn't. It could be a lot worse. Even the underside has a little bit of detailing, but not too much. It's kind of smooth on the underside. It does say Geoworld there and Triceratops, but I'm not entirely sold or unsold as far as this one goes. Then we've got the Baryonyx, and wow, what a Baryonyx this guy is. You can see that the head kind of has that hooked jaw that you do see on the usual Baryonyx. The teeth are really sloppily painted in there. There's kind of an attempt at painting the flap of the mouth there, but then it immediately ends before you actually even get inside the mouth. Yeah, that's pretty bad. The paint is kind of nice looking otherwise. It's got a nice mixture of greens and has some nice skin tone going on. It kind of transitions very beautifully and naturally to a brown up here on the back, and then has kind of a black striping going on. The eyes are a little bit sloppily painted. There's some green up here on the head and everything, and some browns mixed all throughout. And the overall paint, as far as the body, does look really quite nice. It's pretty nicely painted. It's just that the sculpt is very outdated, I will say that. Again, I don't really know how old this figure is. I'm not sure if it says it on the underside here. No, nothing. It just says that it's in 1/50th scale. So we now at least know what scale it's in. You can see as you move down, there's some nice osteoderms and some scoots and stuff here appearing. And the overall sculpting of the body detail actually does look kind of nice. It's not that bad. The arms are oddly short, however, and the claws, although they have a nice, very glossy-like paint that look really nice, they look very strange. I think they're just way too short, and overall look, again, kind of childlike. Got some nice skin folding going on here in the stomach. Kind of see the skin bunching up as the legs pushing into the body. Some fairly nice musculature here in the thigh and calf area. The feet look okay, but the nails are really sloppily painted. And I'm not a big fan of that weird bluish color that they have going on there. And overall, the color is like a brown with like the same blue that's on the feet up here, striping and spotting all over the body. Again, it actually looks like maybe this one was connected to a base at one time and someone removed it, so that's always possible. And the tail has that same style sculpt as far as the overall skin texture. It does have a very nice, very natural looking curve to the body, and the other side kind of looks the same. You can see a few skin folds here and there, skin folds in the stomach. I think it wouldn't look bad if it was down in a more natural position and not upright in a more tripod-like position. But again, it's not exactly a high-quality Baryonyx. It could look a lot better, and I think Geoworld definitely has potential, but this one's a little bit bad. Then you have the Caudipteryx, and this one I think really looks quite nice, surprisingly. Overall, the paint on the eyes is a little sloppy, and I think could have been done a little better. The beak looks pretty nice, but there's not too much in the way of sculpt or anything inside of it. I think the paint isn't really that great, but there is a nice amount of paint that's included. You can see some nice feathers up here on the head, and you can see it transitions from a red into a black and then turns to blue. As you move down the neck, you can see some nice skin folding going on here in the neck as the dinosaur has its head turned to the left a little bit. So there was some very nice attention to detail paid there. You can again see it a little bit there, but not as much as the dinosaur's turning its head to the left. You wouldn't see it as visible on this side. As you move down, you can really see the nice feathering here in the neck, and the overall detailing of the feathers in the arms does look really quite nice. They've done a great job, really, of the feathering there. You can see the nails are painted. The fingers look very small. Seems to be the way that Geoworld just goes about their figures, just kind of giving them smaller fingers and hands and feet and stuff. But it doesn't look that bad. Nice feathering up here on the back. There's not too much in the way of detail. You can see some nice musculature there. Calf muscles again. The feet look decent. They look pretty nice. Dew claws present. It's painted. Nails are all painted with a nice glossy black, so they look pretty real. You can get out to this beautiful set of tail feathers. Very nice striking look with the way they've used the blacks and reds and everything amongst the blue. I think it really looks nice, and the detail inside the feathers also looks really quite nice as well. Even the underside has some very nice plumage and coloration as far as the tail feathers go. So not half bad at all, this one is. He's got a nice little yellowish type of a coloration on the underside of the belly, and this side just looks quite nice as well. Overall, this one isn't bad. I really kind of like this one. And the base itself is just kind of a huge rock that it's standing on, and there's not really anything as far as coloration or anything goes. It's just one solid color, but it still is half decent. And then here is the Dilophosaurus. Now that we have him out of the package, you can see that the head sculpt overall isn't really that great. It doesn't really look too Dilophosaurus-like, but at the same time, it doesn't look that bad either. It's got some kind of decently painted teeth. They're a little sloppy, but they're not the worst, that's for sure. The eye doesn't really have a gloss or anything. It's just got a nice black pupil inside of a yellow eye. The eye is kind of a little sloppily painted. The crest is like a brownish color and just kind of has some black spots that don't look very natural up there. So I'm not a big fan of those. I think the paint otherwise on the face though looks pretty nice with that mixture of brown and green, and kind of has some decent detail, but not really anything that's that great. But you can see it's got that same style sculpt as you move down the neck. You can see a few skin folds and creases in the skin. You get down here to the arms. The nails have a nice black coloration. They're fairly nicely painted, and there are many different tones of color throughout, so I think they do a fairly good job on the overall body color. The detailing and sculpt doesn't look that bad in the stomach region. It's got some fairly nice skin texture, and a few skin folds here. You can kind of see the skin stretching as this leg is pulling back. You can get an idea of the hip bone there and some nice musculature in the thigh and calf. Feet look pretty good, not great, but not that bad. You can see it's again on that same style rocky base, but it's a different color. It's more of a light green, and then there is actually some green that's been painted over it to give it a little bit of color difference, which is a plus as opposed to the other one compared with this one. And again, you can see some fairly decent detail as we move out the tail, and the tail is kind of curved a little bit there. It comes out to a nice point. There's actually, for some reason, paint chipped off of the tail. And then if we look at the opposing side, again, you can see some fairly nice sculpt as far as the creases in the skin go up here on the neck. With the neck being pulled, it's not quite as abundant as you see on this side. You can see a good bit of creases in the skin there. This side you don't see as many as the dinosaur's got his head turned to the right. So that was pretty nice attention to detail on the part of Geoworld. Nicely sculpted arms on this side. They don't look overly small, but still a little small, I think. The hands look a little weird, but they also don't look that bad. I definitely think this Dilophosaurus is probably the best of the bunch. Some fairly decent skin texture here in the stomach, and again some nice skin folds going on. You can kind of see the skin bunching a little bit as the left leg is pulling up into the body, or I should say pushing. Also some nice, very nice actually, defined muscles there. And again, the feet look okay on this side, and the tail also looks pretty nice. So the Dilophosaurus isn't that bad. There's some really nice paint added onto it actually. It overall has some very appealing paint, and some nice paint as far as the skin tones go. So that is a plus. There's lots of different variations of the colors added. It's just, again, the sculpt is kind of outdated and doesn't look overly detailed like I would expect on most figures, where it's very highly detailed. This one's just kind of plain, but it's actually not half bad. Another thing that leads me to believe that the Baryonyx was once on a base, aside from the obvious peg holes, is that his legs are really warped. You can see them there. So he was probably also on a base at one point to keep him standing. I think some hot water, cold water might help and stop that from happening, but regardless, he does still have a standing issue currently. Inside the actual Dilophosaurus set, you do get some very cool extra stuff, and here is an image just showing you, look at how many dinosaur figures they have. There is just a ton, and so many obscure species that you don't really see get too many figures. Like there's a Daspletosaurus I see there, Cryolophosaurus, Concavinator, Guanlong, Protoceratops, Polacanthus, Psittacosaurus, Saltosaurus, Sauronetholestes. There's just tons. Zunoceratops, like a lot of stuff that you just don't see get figures very often. So there is a huge amount as far as the collection of these Geoworld figures go, and that's one thing that really makes these figures kind of draws me to them. It makes them very appealing. Here's some information on the Dilophosaurus. You get a very cool fact sheet here, as well as a cool image there of the Dilophosaurus itself, and then again on this side. So it's got a very cool overall presentation as far as this goes, and on top of that, they actually give you numerous ones in many different languages. If you are someone from another country that's purchasing it, you have many choices as far as finding your version and that is also a very cool touch. So I think the overall presentation of this is actually really quite fantastic, and as far as that goes, it's kind of a cut above the rest compared to most companies that do release dinosaur figures. Again, the figure itself isn't the most appealing Dilophosaurus in the world, but it's really not a half bad one, in my opinion anyway. As far as the size goes, for the Dilophosaurus, you're looking at about 7.5 inches or about 18 centimeters in length, and for a height about 5 inches or about 13 centimeters. For the Triceratops, who for some reason is the smallest of the bunch, you're looking at about 6.25 inches or about 16 centimeters in length, and a height just under 3 inches or about 7.5 centimeters. For the Caudipteryx, from the head to the tail feathers, you're looking at about 6.75 inches or about 17 centimeters, and a height at about the 5-inch range or about 12.5 centimeters there. And this guy might be a little tough to measure because he has no balance. For the Baryonyx, about 8 inches long or about 20 centimeters, and for a height, you're looking at about 4 inches or 10 centimeters, pretty much on the dot. For a size comparison, there is the Papo T-Rex, and this should give you a pretty good idea that these Geoworld figures are fairly small in comparison, but again, at the same time, they're not that bad. They're obviously nowhere near the detail and sculpt you see on a Papo dinosaur, but considering the sheer amount of species and the incredible information sheets and everything that you get with them, I'm kind of impressed. So are these Geoworld figures the most scientifically accurate, beautiful figures in the world? Most certainly not. Are they fairly childish? Yeah, a little bit. They don't really look that great. They're not super scientifically accurate and very highly detailed. However, they do have their charm. I will say the Dilophosaurus and Caudipteryx are really quite nice, actually. Not as nice as a lot of other companies release, but the Dilophosaurus has a very cool vintage feel to it. So does the Baryonyx. The Caudipteryx has a decent sculpt, honestly, and a pretty appealing look to it. The paint scheme isn't that great, but it's not that bad either. Fairly natural looking as far as the paint goes on all of these, except maybe the Triceratops is a little outlandish, but it's not that bad either. Again, not the most scientifically accurate, not the most highly detailed, but they do still have their charm, and with the sheer amount of ridiculous species they have, they just have a ton of figures. I am fairly intrigued to get a hold of some more and take a look at them, but I don't know for sure if I will. I may, and again, this is going to be really up to you guys if I pursue these as far as reviews go. If I pick any more up, if you guys aren't impressed with these, you don't want to see more, then I probably won't review them in the future, but I may buy a few for myself just because, again, there's so many obscure species like the Saltosaurus and the Zunoceratops and Protoceratops. There's just a few that I would really like to get a hold of. But as far as these ones go, again, they're not that bad. The paint on them does look pretty natural and pretty nice. And overall, the sculpts are a little iffy, but they're not the worst sculpts I've ever seen, that's for sure. Unfortunately, a lot of these figures are pretty expensive, which is one downside in my opinion. So that is going to make buying them a little difficult for me because I can't really justify spending a large amount of money on a figure that's not really that nice. However, again, the fact that there's so many obscure species really draws me in, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see if I find any for a decent price. If you do want to buy any of these guys, my suggestion is just go ahead, search around on eBay. I don't really want to link you guys to anybody in particular because even on Amazon a lot of the time they're kind of expensive. I don't really know exactly where the best place is to suggest you to buy them. So my suggestion is just search around a little bit, maybe check eBay like I did, and you might stumble upon some. And if you find a species you're interested in, give it a shot because you might actually like it. Again, they're not the worst, but they're not the best. I would say my favorites here would probably be the Caudipteryx, then the Dilophosaurus. It's really kind of a toss-up between these two. Actually, I'm going to say the Dilophosaurus, then the Caudipteryx, then this ugly Baryonyx, and then the Triceratops. These two aren't really in the question here. I don't really care for either of them that much, but these two aren't that bad. So again, if you want to purchase any, search around, see what you can find, but make sure you leave a comment down below letting me know if you are interested in seeing future figures from this company on the channel, and I will consider getting some more. So do all that fun stuff, but before you do all that, make sure that you please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.